There you are. Good morning. How you doing? It's 9:30 on June 4th, 2019. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining the live stream. Those of you up this early. I'll get to some of the comments in a minute. This is about the fifth of these that I've done. I'm going to do this every morning at 9:30. That's British summertime. Going to have a look at the main stories or the big stories in the UK newspapers every morning for about 30 minutes. Just a reminder for people new to the stream, this doesn't affect the radio show, which obviously will air Monday to Thursday at 5 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. UK time. This is just something a bit different, and we'll see how it goes and how it plays out. Let me have a look and see, are we on the old live stream there, are we? Gotta do this as I go. I've got to be the chief cook and bottle washer, as I've said before, and yeah, we're all good. We're all good, and I'll read some comments as they come in. Good morning, straight off the bat, to first person in this morning, to Millie, to Kevin Hansen, to Mercian, to Gabriel, to Stephen, to Black Star, to Venus Rising, to Help Animals, to Julie Walters, and Jack Woolley, and 26, and Peter Rouse, and there's many people there already, so forgive me if I don't give you a mention. Thanks for joining in. Well, the papers are dominated this morning, unsurprisingly, by the visit of Donald Trump to the UK. He's here at the moment. There was a state banquet last night, of course, hosted by the Queen, covered by the UK 24-hour news channels, extensive coverage of it by the BBC and Sky News, including live coverage of the toasts and the speeches before they got down to dinner. So let's jump in straight away with the newspaper front pages then. Here's the Express. Like I said, a lot of this today, a lot of it. Here's to the end of EU shackles, because this has been a big part of the Trump visit, as well as the meetings with the monarch and her sons and all of that. Trump has been tweeting liberally about the European Union and about the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and other things as well. It's been manna from heaven for the reporters reporting on this Twitter stuff that goes on with Trump. Trump paid tribute to our great Queen and war heroes last night, and says once Britain breaks free from Brussels, big trade deals await. But as I talked about yesterday, and we will talk about ongoing, a lot of concern about the trade deal that he's proposing and what it means for the NHS, but not only for the NHS, but for food standards in this country as well. So let's just leave the Express alone for a minute and go to the Guardian. Now, there's a paper that's not going to report or reflect positively on the visit of Donald Trump. Tea and antipathy, insults mark the start of Trump's visit. And there's a wonderful motley crew right there. I'm not going to say any more than that. That's the Guardian newspaper today. Okay? And again, I'm going to repeat myself. If we move along through the dailies, it's all the same. May snub after royal welcome for Trump. I didn't even read that. I know that the outgoing UK Prime Minister, Theresa May, was at this state banquet last night, because I saw a snippet of it on Sky News. So what the snub is all about, I have no idea. Maybe it's a story about the Huawei China trade war issue, and maybe it's alleging that Trump is not going to spend too much time speaking to Theresa May during this visit. Not that any of that really matters at all. That's the newspaper. The Daily Mail, yeah, it's the same again. The winners and stone cold losers. So the Mail is reflecting on the visit and the pageantry and all of that, but also this war of words on Twitter with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. This is a puppet show. It's pure theatre, in my opinion. I've got to say that more often, in my opinion, because it annoys people when they perceive that you're stating what is fact. No, it's conjecture. It's my opinion that Trump is a creation of the deep state to re-engage people with politics. Won't bore you, because I've done it to death on the radio show, and I've written about it extensively on richieallen.co.uk. But this is, for me, all theatre. I'm not saying that Trump's lunacy on Twitter isn't real. It is real, or at least Trump understands it to be real. But it is a creation of the deep state to keep everybody engaged with it. It's like a 24-hour day running soap opera. It is the Truman Show, is what it is. And people love it. Trump's base love it. And the people who despise Trump love it as well. They love it. And it keeps them engaged on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram and making their YouTube videos. And all that it does is to create a deepening, what I would say is inertia. And people don't do anything for themselves. They don't understand what's really going on. They don't understand that people like Donald Trump and Theresa May are not in charge, are not in control, are not running anything, are not responsible ultimately for what's happening in the world. They have no responsibility for it. You might hear a bit of banging. I've got a gentleman called Mike around who's putting in some doors, believe it or not. All of this stuff is going on since we moved. It's been crazy, really. Very exciting to move, but it's also been crazy, and it's 24/7, and I just can't wait for things to settle down. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that's the Daily Mail today. Let's get rid of that and have a look at the Metro. Star Spangled Banquet. Same again. Same pictures, same photographers. Melania looking resplendent. Resplendent. And the Queen looking like the Queen, I suppose. Let's get rid of that. It's the Metro. The Mirror. Pomp and protest. Red carpet rolled out for the president. But today, 250,000 people will march against him. Will they? Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. And this is where it all leads. I touched on it a moment ago. This is where it all leads. People brainwashed into thinking that this puppet, the hairpiece, is really responsible for the policies like naming Jerusalem or recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, like arming and supporting jihadists in Syria and in Iraq. He's not responsible for any of that. He's got no say in it. People will never wake up to that. So they'll go out today in their droves. They're saying 250,000. I don't know if that's true. And they will march against him. And they'll feel good about it, I suppose. What's in the Star? We'll talk more about that in a minute. The Star. What's up? What's up? This is crazy nonsense, this. Trump seemed to kind of give a claw type handshake to the Queen, and the Star finds this kind of amusing, suggesting that he fist bumped her. Don't think he fist bumped her, but anyway, it doesn't matter, does it? Does it? No. That's the Star. Here's the worst newspaper of all time. Nobody should ever buy it. The Sun. Don't ever buy it. Read it for free if you have to. Don't ever buy it. Stitch me up before you go. Keep me hanging. George Michael left nothing to his lovers, and they're properly pissed off about it, apparently. That's the story. And then there's another article. Harry gets the hump over Trump. I don't know what this is. This is all wild speculation, because Harry's wife, the actress Meghan Markle, has called Trump a misogynist and didn't turn up to the state banquet with a young baby to mind. And there's allegations of frostiness between Trump and Harry Hewitt. Let's leave the Sun there. I'm going to leave the Telegraph for a moment. The Times. More on this story about Trump and Theresa May. May to take tough line with Trump over China. The background to this story: the US Ambassador Woody Johnson and then Donald Trump have been saying that if the UK does use the high-tech firm Huawei in helping to roll out 5G in the UK, then the UK might be frozen out of intelligence sharing because it fears that Huawei is some China-controlled company that would be leaking secrets and snooping and all the rest of it. So that's been rumbling around for the last few days, that story. Made to take tough line, says the Times. Theresa May is finished. So she's not taking any tough line on anything. She's seeing out the next couple of weeks in relative embarrassment, wishing that it would all just go away, I suppose. There was another story there on the Times, which, what have I done with it? It's that story. Vitamin D cuts the risk of dying from cancer. And I can't look inside the Times today for some reason, even though I do subscribe. But that story is also featured in the Telegraph. And here it is. Vitamin D supplements can cut risk of dying from cancer, scientists find. This is Laura Donnelly, the health editor. She's in Chicago. Scientists warn that modern lifestyles could be increasing the risk of disease with ever longer hours spent indoors or in the shadow of what? In the shadow of what, exactly? Who's got the answer? In the shadow of what? Skyscrapers. Skyscrapers is the answer. So 80,000 adults in Michigan. I used to say Michigan. Used to piss off my American listeners and viewers. It's Michigan. Yeah, you only have to tell me one time. Michigan State University and Hurley Medical Center found that taking a supplement for at least 3 years was associated with a 13% drop in mortality from all cancers. And another study by Madrid University Hospital found that taking a daily pill along with a statin, stay away from statins. But anyway, they say it's linked to a 38% reduction in deaths from prostate cancer. Scientists said the effects appear to be independent of each other, suggesting that both the medication and the vitamin boosted survival. Big pharma companies don't want to be stuck with warehouses full of statins, so they've got to make up this sort of bullshit, you know. People are refusing statins around the world because statins, A, don't reduce your cholesterol, they don't do anything except harm, and B, cholesterol is not a bad thing anyway. And don't ask me to get too deep into that. Do your own research into it. So, vitamin D, sunlight. Sunlight's something we don't get too much of here in the UK or in the Northwest. We did last summer, and by all accounts, we've got another very warm summer on the horizon. We'll have to see about that. We're into June now, and it's pretty grim out there today, and temperatures are around about 14, 15 degrees, which is about average for the UK in the Northwest for this time of year. Let me go straight to the messages and read a few of them. Am I on the right ones? Yeah. I don't know. Am I on the right ones? This is a strange one. I think I know I'm streaming. Here you go. I found it. Let me read some. Twisted Hippie. Gabriel Swift. Let me scroll on down. Let's hear a Richie rant, says somebody. No. Hi, Patricia Braunschweiler in Switzerland. How you doing, Patricia? Melania constantly looks like she can't get far enough away from Orange Man, in my opinion. Yes, she did marry him, though. She did marry him. What first attracted you to the multi-millionaire Donald Trump? Let's have a look. Hi to John Smith, group therapy in London. Ruth Cormack says, let's not forget Trump okayed the attack on Syria without questioning flimsy evidence. Ergo, he's a puppet just like all the rest, no surprise. That's right, Ruth, but he didn't conclude that. He didn't come to that decision by himself. He didn't say, let's attack Syria. I know, let's attack Syria because of that bogus chemical weapons attack. Of course he didn't. Trump does what he's told. Let's see. Kim says, an actress, Meghan Markle, very funny. She's not that bad, is she? I watched a bit of Suits. Seems pretty average or pretty ordinary to me. Let's have a look. Scroll on down. Hi to Jennifer Garcia. Lots of vitamin D in Florida. Of course there is. Sunshine State, isn't it, Florida? Sugspiracy says 5G is nothing but a weapon in the wrong hands. See Barry Trower's appearance on the Richie Allen show last night. Joe Public says, what difference does it make who is spying on us? They're all part of the globalist G. the globalist agenda. Thank you, Joe. Sean says, what crap is in these supplements? Just go out in the garden and get some sun. It's a very good point. And there are naturally occurring vegetables and fruits where you can get vitamin D. Or is there not? I'm wrong, right? You can't get vitamin D from fruits or vegetables. Help me out here. I might look like a moron. Maybe I am a moron. But yeah, sunlight or daylight. Just get out anyway. Get out. Too many of us spend all of our free time indoors looking at one of them. Or watching television. Or watching some box set that you've downloaded and binge watching it. It's not healthy. Get out. Get out. Every free minute I've got, I am outdoors. I really am. Get out in the fresh air. Hi to PB Awake, who enjoyed the appearance of Barry Trower on the Richie Allen show last night. Thanks very much, mate. Good morning to Dick Scratcher. Yeah. By the way, I didn't brush my teeth. It's the first time I've ever done this without brushing my teeth because I've been rushing around. I went out for a run, came back, had a shower, got some stuff for this. Mike came along, the carpenter, been all over the place, not being able to brush my teeth. I've probably got the remnants of my breakfast, bits of fruit on my teeth. There you go. Scott Davis says, your baldy head's getting plenty of sun, Richie. It is indeed, Scott. It is indeed. Stephen John Parker, I've been called anti-Semitic because I support George Galloway. George Galloway is obviously a politician and a media personality and had a show on talk radio called The Mother of All Talk Shows. Anyway, and he was fired by talk radio yesterday because of a tweet he made about the Israeli flag, which was seen at the Champions League final between Liverpool and Tottenham on Saturday. And Galloway, who claims to be a Manchester United supporter, it's a load of horse shit. Galloway is a politician, don't ever forget that. And I had him on my programme a couple of times and I was glad he came on. I don't have anything against him, and I am completely opposed to his sacking. Listen to that before you melt down. But George is a monumental bullshitter, like any other politician. I'm a Man United fan, he tweets out all the time when United are playing. And then he tweets out support for Liverpool. And this virtue signalling about Bill Shankly and the miners and socialists in Liverpool. Give me a break. No Israeli flag on the cup, he said. He gave them the rope to hang him with. You got to box a bit more clever than that. That being said, it's an outrage that he was fired. And there are a lot of things that I would find that I would have common ground with George Galloway. Let's be honest about that. Mushrooms, vitamin D for mushrooms, says several viewers this morning. Thank you. 2-6 says, how can the UK still maintain its mental position on cannabis prohibition when 11 states in the US now have legal cannabis? I agree with you. Absolutely maddening that any man alive or woman can tell another man or woman that it's against the law to grow a plant for yourself and to use the products of that plant, the fruits of that plant, for want of a better word, to ail your aches and pains or whatever. It's an outrage, but you don't live in a democracy. You live in a tyranny. I've said it a million times. Jennifer's having a coffee watching this. You'll never see worse television than this, Jennifer. It doesn't get any worse than this. If you can't be the best, I've always said, be the worst. Make it so bad that it's compelling. People come back to it. And I'm not fishing for compliments either. This is garbage. I know it is. I love it. My radio show is the best sounding and best produced radio show in the independent media in the world. I'm really arrogant about that. It really is. Because I make it so. Because that is my gift. That is my genius. I don't mean any of that. No, it is. But this is crap. You've got to be honest. Take the rough with the smooth. I had Chris Brown. But anyway, I said all that stuff about the radio because it really triggers people. I to Glenn Walker. I want an Israeli flag on the Champions League trophy because I'm a Spurs fan. Good for you, Glenn. Scott says, what treats do you have for us this evening, Richie? I've got to get back to the paper. Stop with the questions. I've only got half an hour here. I've only got 10 minutes left. Heather Brunskill Evans is going to be on today. She's one of the guests. A lot of trans madness happening. So we got to talk about that. Let's have a look. Right. Joe Public says Galloway is a Celtic supporter. I believe so. He was born in Dundee though, wasn't he? Again, you hypocritical bastard, Richie. You were born in Waterford, yet you're a Manchester United supporter. We all grew up in Ireland watching English soccer. And I not only went to see my hometown football club, Waterford United, regularly, I also worked for them in a time when things weren't going particularly well for them and managed to raise several £1,000s for them when I was in my radio days. But yeah, right, that's enough of the comments. Let's get back to the papers. Where were we? The Telegraph. Yeah, this pisses me right off. Let me get my baldy dome out of the way there. Corbyn to lead protests against Trump. Now, if you heard me speaking with the terrific Tony Gosling last night, check out Tony Gosling politics show every Friday, thisweek.org.uk. Check Tony out. Also check out triggerwarning.tv, Hayden and Graham, the gruesome twosome, putting out videos and blogs and vlogs regularly talking about the same types of issues as I talk about, but giving you a different perspective. Check them out as well. This cheeses me off. It pisses me right off. So apparently 250,000 people are going to be protesting today in London, and there will be a scaffolding with a stage, and Jeremy's going to speak. Now, Jeremy was invited as the leader of Her Majesty's opposition. Not your opposition to the government. Her Majesty's opposition. Corbyn was invited to be part of all the festivities and said no. Because Corbyn he's been possessed, like Linda Blair, by these freakish, progressive, screaming children activists called Momentum, who are doing everything they can to destroy historic public discourse, where people met with people with whom they disagreed all the time, to have at it. Have at it. I totally disagree with you. I want to meet you in public so we can have a conversation. And we'll see who's right and who's wrong. Or we'll see whose argument stands up. No, I'm going to boycott. So just park that for a minute, because one of Corbyn's mates, Emily Thornberry, I've gotten this all wrong. I'll get to Emily Thornberry in a minute, yeah. I had a brain freeze there. So look, it's the same in the Mail. The hard left spoiled the party. Hundreds of thousands of anti-Trump protesters gather in London to hear Jeremy Corbyn's tirade against the president. Right? Not going to be in the room. Going to be outside the room. Virtue signalling. These are the Trump puppets. This is the story. Sorry for messing this up. I can't move this properly because I'm not good at moving the mouse. Organisers said the rally could be the biggest demonstration in British history, despite the Iraq War protest in London, attracting more than 1 million people. It was way more than 1 million in London back in 2003. 10,000 police officers mean it'll cost the taxpayer about £25 million to police. So they're expecting 250,000 Donald Trump protesters today. Yeah. What's very interesting about all of this is Corbyn's shadow foreign secretary. Again, for our viewers and listeners overseas, for every secretary of state, there is a shadow in the opposition party. So the foreign secretary is Jeremy Hunt. His shadow in the opposition party, the main opposition party, is Emily Thornberry. The Guardian this morning reports that Thornberry was on the Today programme with John Humphreys and Nick Robinson, presumably, on BBC Radio 4, and she was justifying why Corbyn decided not to go to the state banquet. She said, the truth is Trump has tried to close borders with Muslim majority countries. He is caging small Mexican children. He's grabbed women and boasted about it. He is a sexual predator. He is a racist. And it's right to say that. We need to think about when is it our country got so scared. There's marvellous irony there, isn't there? When is it that our country got so scared? Wow. You are endorsing your leader's refusal to go and meet with this guy and front him up. And in the same breath, you're asking, when is it that this country got so scared? So obviously on Radio 4 this morning, they said to Thornbury, well, Corbyn doesn't want to go to a dinner with Trump, but he has attended one for the president of China, which doesn't have a terrific human rights record. What did the Thorn say about that? She said, when you have a close friend and they're going wrong, you are more likely to be adamant with them and clearer with them than someone who has not been as close a friend and someone you are trying to build a relationship up with. So when the Chinese premier arrives, we're not as close a friend with him, and we're trying to build a relationship with him, so we won't be as vocal about the human rights abuses. But when America arrives in the guise of Donald J. Trump, who is a close friend, or at least America is, we are more likely to be adamant with them. But Thornbury, you hopeless fucking liar. You're not being adamant. You are refusing to meet with the guy. And standing outside with a bunch of lunatics, screaming about misogyny and hate speech and all the rest of it, when the best place to be is in the room. I said this last night to Tony Gosling. Jeremy Corbyn is so passionate about the rights of Palestine, as he should be, and its struggle against the illegitimate, racist apartheid state of Israel. If Corbyn is so passionate about that, why the fuck would you say no to the dinner invitation? You'd be rubbing your hands, wouldn't you? You see, I'm very confrontational, me. I've always been, in the media and outside of the media. When I say confrontational, I don't mean like that. I mean like that. I won't let anybody get away with anything. And I will speak my mind to somebody, but I will always then shut up and let them speak after I've had my say, after I've vented my spleen. I think you're wrong to do this and this is why. Then I'll shut up and listen. What these lunatic crybaby snowflakes want to do is build a world where rather than engage with somebody with whom you are opposed, you just get to ban them. I won't dwell on it because, again, got into it on the programme yesterday. And eventually, we're all going to end up looking like this. Eventually, this is where you end up. You end up with a society of children that are a cross between Owen Jones and Greta Thunberg. That's what you get. People like that. People who legitimise the closing down of people whom they have declared to be wrong and dangerous. They get to close them down. And that's where it's going. It is unbelievable that Jeremy Corbyn is getting an easy ride from union leaders on his refusal to go to this banquet. And Corbyn supporters are so entrenched with respect to their feelings for him that they can't see it. They can't see the wood for the trees. They should be saying it's absolutely outrageous that this pro-Palestinian man is not going in there, having his dinner, biting his tongue during the dinner, and then later on then grabbing Trump and saying, what's going on? No. What else have we got in the papers today? We're rapidly running out of time, folks. I'm going to keep it to a half an hour each day. Let me Lord Branstey says, Galloway follows you, Richie. Be nice. I am being nice. I'm just giving my opinion. I've had George Galloway on the programme before. Like I said, there are much of what Galloway stands for I would be in agreement with. Don't have anything against him at all. So I don't know what that's about. Let me scroll on down. Jose Cavon says, I've come to despise George Galloway, having previously attended meetings at which he spoke. Hitchens once described him as a demagogue. Hitchens was right. That's your opinion, mate. Jason says, good morning from Wales. Good morning, mate. No One's Flower says, Tony good at his job, yet encouraged my ill partner in delusions. I await apology. I don't know what any of that means. And I'm not being rude. I have no idea. It's got nothing to do with me. Kim says, the funny thing is the MSM can't compete with independent health. Independent health. Robinson content providers. The reason they need to destroy alternative voices. There might have been a typo in there. Hi to Teresa Smuts. Let me scroll back. I missed a lot there. And I think somebody made a donation in the super chat and I missed it, so I really apologize. I can't find it. I'm scrolling back through the comments. This is all new to me, so you're going to have to give me a bit of time with it, right? To get used to it. So don't think I ignored that. I didn't ignore it. Let me go on down. Bilderberg. That's guide to just some guy. To Guy Master Flex. Guy Master Flex says Galloway blocked me on Twitter for no reason. He might say he had a reason. He's not here. I don't know. I try to not get involved in all that sort of stuff. I'm only interested in my relationship with you, and your relationship with other people I don't bother about too much. And that's the way we should all be. See, if I like you, I don't care what somebody else says about you. I really don't. If I like you. I get this all the time in the independent media. Oh, I can't believe you talked to him, Richie. Did you not hear what he said about... I couldn't care less what he said about somebody else. I'm only interested in what he says on my radio show. That's how I approach it. I've always approached it like that. Very quickly, awful story on the BBC this morning. Pranks on homeless people. I am reliably informed by friends of mine that pranks on homeless people are the tip of the iceberg. That in parts of Europe, including, well, we shouldn't say Russia as part of Europe. It isn't. Russia takes part in the European Championships, of course, in the soccer. But Russia, of course, is not in Europe. Of course it isn't. But in parts of Russia, people have videoed themselves stabbing homeless people. And there's a story in the press today about people videoing homeless people, playing pranks on them. YouTuber gave a homeless person an Oreo biscuit, or an Oreo, but how do you say it? Oreo, with toothpaste in it, and has been sent to jail for it. A vlogger called Kangwa Ren violated the moral integrity of the victim back in 2017. This is in Barcelona. The person's YouTube channel will be shut down and he must not post any videos under 2024. He's been told to pay €20,000 to his victim as well. Now, where's the mindset? Where do you have to be in your life to think that it's funny to prank somebody who's at their lowest ebb, who is on the street, who is in a terrible situation, mentally maybe, and you think, I'll play a prank on them and I'll put it on YouTube. You might think the sentence is severe, 15 months in jail and a €20,000 fine. I lived in Spain for nearly 9 years. They don't fuck around. Not when it comes to things like that. And I'm not going to virtue signal about the homeless. But I am going to virtue signal on behalf of the future Mrs. Allen, who's the most amazing woman in the world. Doesn't want me saying anything like this, doesn't like it. But spends time at weekends going around Manchester and buying lunch for people who have got no place to go, and talking to them and asking them do they need any help and that. She's not alone, there are many people doing it. And where do you get the mentality to prank somebody and to put it on YouTube? And the reason I think it bears mentioning is because this is becoming more and more common. This is where the system is driving people to. Complete and utter apathy for other people. It's driving people to sociopathy. It is making sociopaths out of people. Because that's not psychotic, that's sociopathic. Devoid of all empathy for somebody. Andy Warhol said it, didn't he? In the future we'll all be famous for 15 minutes. And, addiction to social media, addiction to uploading videos, addiction to being on camera, an addiction to fame, what it's doing to people. This is what it's doing to people, In other parts of the world, like I said, we're seeing people attacking homeless people, videoing it and putting it on social media channels. I mean, in fairness to Google, that stuff is deleted very quickly when they see it. And you know, I'm against censorship, of course, of opinion. There's no excuse for censorship of opinion, but there is absolutely the right of social media companies, when they see this stuff, to delete it and to ban the guy for life. Absolutely crazy. There might be time for one more. Talk about the nanny state very briefly. It's in the mail today. Sweets and fizzy drinks are to be sold in cigarette-style plain packaging. You might know this. If you're outside the UK, you might not. But in the last couple of years, I've never smoked, so I don't know. I don't know when it came in. But the traditional branding of cigarette companies was banned, and they were told to put the cigarettes into plain packaging, but not plain. The packaging has got images of tumours and images of people on respirators and stuff like that, in a bid to dissuade people from smoking. They're saying they're going to try this with sweets or candy, as you would say in the United States. These plans are backed by the Chief Medical Officer of England, a woman called Dame Sally Davis. Plans include a daytime ban on television adverts for junk food. Now, I know a lot of my listeners, a lot of the Richie Allen Show listeners will say this is the nanny state and it's crazy and it's dangerous. They might be right. Cadbury, Walkers, Crisps, Coca-Cola and other major brands forced to abandon their vibrant designs, these logos that are ingrained on our minds, and forced to put plain packaging on because it might stop children doing what this young lad here, and I think this is a posed picture for the article, eating a packet of crisps and drinking a bottle of Ribena. Nanny state gone mad, you might say, or you might think it's a good thing. What do you think? That's about it for the newspaper review today. If I didn't get to any of your questions or your comments, I apologise profusely. I'll do better tomorrow. And I really appreciate the fact that you tune in. So among the guests on the Richie Allen radio show at 5 will be Heather Brunskill Evans, feminist and author. We'll be talking about some of the more recent stories about transgender rights. Talked about this yesterday. There was another example of a trans woman, that is a man who identifies as a woman, ending up in an all-female prison and having a sexual relationship with a female inmate. We'll get into that, and there's much more to get into besides with Heather, and more besides on the Richie Allen Show, which, remember, is live at 5 o'clock every day. It is live. You can participate in it. You can interact in it on richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, triggerwarning.tv, or TuneIn Radio. It's on TuneIn Radio, where it has thousands of followers. And the TuneIn app is the biggest and most successful app for radio in the world, with millions of subscribers to it. My show is on there, and as I said, it's got thousands of followers on there, so you can hear it on TuneIn at any time. Check out thisweek.org.uk for Tony Gosling. Tony will be back on the show again real soon. Barry Trower, I'm just going to ring Barry in a minute to schedule another visit for Barry. And do check out triggerwarning.tv with the madly brilliant, challenging, triggering Hayden Hewitt and Graham Booth, talking about these issues, but often with a different take than me, but just as independent. All right, have a great day.